Hi everyone, in case you're new here, my name is Allison and I'm a freelance graphic designer currently. So today I'm going to be critiquing my old work from high school and college. So I was kind of hesitant to make this video because I wanted to do it right, because everyone is at different points in their journey, and I wouldn't want someone who is at the beginning of their journey to watch me make a video where I'm looking at my old artwork and I'm making fun of it, or I'm being mean or anything like that, and it might discourage that person. And I don't ever want to do that, even if I am just, reacting to myself and my own work. So I wanted this video to be helpful. And so basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be critiquing it as if my younger self was like in a design class that I was teaching or I was critiquing, and kind of just like point out the things that I was doing well and point out some things that I think that I could do better. So that way, if somebody is at the beginning of their journey, they can watch this and feel encouraged and, continue to learn and grow. And that's the kind of environment that I want to foster on my own specific channels, is being open and welcoming to everybody. So if you are interested, stick around. So full disclosure, I have looked at this work by now. I've gone through it and I've written notes in this notebook that I bought because I thought I needed a bigger notebook, and I got this monstrosity. So I have some notes in here that I'll be referring to as I go through the work and just kind of like expand on them a little bit. So just a little bit of context so that this stuff makes a little bit more sense. I was lucky enough to go to a high school where we had a career and technical education course in graphic design. And in that graphic design class, it was basically treated like a business. We would do posters for like the school and student government and drama and different clubs. So a lot of the work I actually can't show you because it has like people's faces in it and stuff, and I just don't want to, show their face without having their permission. So I'm gonna just stick to stuff that doesn't have people's faces in it, which kind of stinks because like my drama club stuff was pretty awesome, not gonna lie. But you'll just have to take my word for it. But the first piece of work that I have, I think, was for the like office or administration wanting us to do posters to kind of like, one was like about respect, which I think I'll talk about, and then this one was about littering. The concept is that this is Lady Gaga, and this was, when she was in the height of her like Little Monsters and all that kind of stuff. And I think she had just like worn the meat dress recently, so we were all like, wow, she's so crazy. And now I'm like, wow, she's such a cool artist, and whatever, people change. So the things I think that this did well is it would be really cheap to print. It's on a white background, so there's no full bleed or anything like that. It has really good contrast, and there's sort of the beginnings of type hierarchy happening here. And what I mean by that is like, I'm creating a system for the type. I'm starting to set rules that people can expect as they look through the poster. It's very basic here. It's just 2 lines. Don't be a monster, pick up your trash. Monster and trash are associated because they're both bold and italic. So there's the start of this kind of thought process of thinking about type, and I think that's really great. What I think this could be improved upon is, one, obviously this does not look like Lady Gaga, and I don't think that this is entirely my fault. Our class met for like an hour every day. So that's kind of the time frame. I didn't have a lot of time to put into these projects when I was working on them just at school. So I think if I had more time, maybe I could have pushed it further, and that's basically my critique. I think that the concept is really good. I think that the type is really good. It's really simple, but I don't think that that's a problem. Okay, so here is another poster that I think is part of the same series. Again, what I think I'm doing well is the type hierarchy. There's rules with like the teal, bold, italic, you, and then it ends with like that yourself, your peers, your campus. It starts with you. So again, playing with that idea of drawing attention to certain aspects to kind of create like a second meaning. I don't think that this particular poster would print well just because of the limitations of the school. Perhaps if you had a lot of money, printing these like super dark posters with all these different colors wouldn't be a problem. Especially like behind the yourself, your peers, your campus, there's not a lot of contrast there. And it's kind of just like, I think it was like a photo or something that I just like Gaussian blurred the heck out of. So it just doesn't read, and I'm not sure why it's there. And part of the Campus Pride movement at the bottom is super dark and wouldn't print well. I think those were my school colors, which is like why I did it, but I think it just could have been done better. And the last thing that I have to say about this particular poster is I don't like the way that I split it up. I think that this particular, I get what I'm trying to do. Like there's this kind of swoop so it draws your eye through, but it's not like a very interesting composition. It kind of breaks up the space in an awkward way, and that is a skill that I would learn to improve over time. So just a like really general way of creating a composition that's really easy if you're a beginner. Start with the top left, go to the bottom right, then the bottom left, and then out through the top right. It creates an X and it covers the most information. So I might put something in the top left corner and then that will be the most bold thing. And then, draw your eye down with a secondary type hierarchy object in the bottom right, etc. So that way you're kind of getting a sense of movement, and you never want your eye to be drawn out of the composition. And I think that's what this like big yellow bar is doing. It's the thing that grabs your attention the most. It has the most weight, and it kind of just swoops your eye right out of the composition, and if you're walking in the hallway, you wouldn't be staring at this for very long and no one would read it. So that's my main critique for this poster, but I do think that I am starting to get an idea of type hierarchy, which I think is a good thing. So we also had a like culinary program that was also a part of like that CTE, and we did a lot of work with them. I really loved working with the culinary students. I would say like the culinary and the drama projects were my favorites to work on. And so this was like a coupon, I think, for them. So first of all, the main thing, it would not print well. It's just so dark. There is more contrast with the white type. There is a really good sense of type hierarchy, and I also really like that like a gradient in the Cafe 742. I think that that's really interesting gradient. Like, I know, they say subtle is better, but I think here it kind of works well. Again, I think that the printing would be a problem, and to the margins, they just don't exist. So a really good way of just making your work look 25% better all the time, especially if you're a beginner, is just to like put margins on your projects. Just set margins, whether it's like for web, I think I do like my 1920 by 1080. I think I do it by like 50 pixels on each side, so it's like 100 total. And then for print, like maybe 1/4 of an inch. And it just makes everything look like automatically cleaner and nicer because you have confined it to a space. So that's a good tip for beginners, I would say. Again, this is a part of the same kind of like family. This was supposed to be like a really big poster that they could like write on. I think they were gonna like laminate it. Again, I think that the type hierarchy is pretty good. Like, I would say the heaviest thing is that black bar at the bottom. And I think that the spacing between those words is a little too close. I would expand those a little bit. But overall, I think that this composition is pretty good. It's simple, but effective. Or I think that the school logo in the back is a smidge too dark, but that's getting like nitpicky. Overall, I think that this is pretty good, and I'm really putting into practice like these ideas that I'm learning in class. I will say I have always had this tendency right now, like I think designers just, tend to gravitate towards the same fonts. So for a lot of these projects, I've been using, I don't even know what font it is, but just like this super like scripty handwriting font. But I still, I think for a lot of my projects, I used like Myriad Pro, like the default font. So I think later on I started to become a little bit more interested in using different typefaces that aren't just like the default. So I have 2 more high school ones, and then I'm gonna move on to 2 college ones. So there was this competition for the Tucson area high schools for graphic design, and I wish I had those files, because I think I actually did really well. I think I actually won a couple of awards, but before we had to design a badge or a logo for the competition as part of it. I don't know. But this is what I submitted. For things I did well, I just put LOL in my notes because, and I don't think that's being mean, because I don't think I spent very much time on this. I probably did, but it looks like I did not, because I think that this swirly thing in the background was just a thing that came with Illustrator, and I just popped a outer glow on it and then put some type on it that's super tight and hard to read, and then put a red box behind it and called it a day. Honestly, I think the issues with this are pretty clear, but it's too busy, and I just don't think it's particularly interesting or has anything to do with the graphic design competition. We also did this thing called the Skills USA competition. I don't know if any of you guys did that or how you fared if you did do it. But I did it 2 years, and I think I placed 9 out of 50 for my best score or whatever. But I designed this badge for it. I don't think I won anything for this badge, but how cute is this badge? This is super fun. 10 out of 10 for concept. It's too busy. The fonts could be varied, and I think that it's just a little too busy. I think I could have done it in a slightly different way, but holy moly. Just a cute little, I think this was supposed to be a badge. So I wanted it to be a little sheriff badge. Obviously this wouldn't do well for pin printing. They had to be pretty simple. So yeah, this is too busy, but oh my goodness. I really like this. I think I would just simplify it, and I think it would be great, but super cute. So I went to a community college first before I went to university, and these projects are from my community college class. This was the first design class I took outside of high school, just for reference. These were a little bit more than a poster. They had a couple more deliverables that were required of us. So for this one, it was a flyer and then a coupon. So it's kind of interesting to see the coupon that I made in high school versus this coupon, and you can kind of see how I'm starting to evolve as a designer. So here's where I start using tons of color. This flyer, number one, it would be terrible for printing, especially if it's a flyer. The like octopus tentacles I think are really cool, but it's super hard to read that text, and I think it could have been done in like a more interesting way that would also lend itself well to being printed. And that type, you'll see, I love this type, and I loved this like swirly script again, and yeah, it's just really hard to read. So this project, I'll scroll through a couple of the different deliverables, but here is the logo itself. We were supposed to create an identity for like a city, and I chose Bisbee, which is like a little historic. It used to be like a mining town, and now it's kind of like an art town, and there's lots of really cool artists and different things down there, and galleries and like installations, and it's just like a cool little town. And I think that what I did well, I think that these typefaces work well together. Again, I'm using that like a big scripty one, and then that same like kind of pseudo-Western style font, and then I'm using like a mono weight kind of other script. And I think that they work well together. I think that they all kind of feel the same. However, I think that when you're doing these scripty fonts, I think that you should just go ahead and do it yourself, because like it's super easy to tell because the E's look exactly the same. You want them to be varied a little bit. So I would say that if you're doing this style, just go ahead and do it yourself. Go the extra mile. It really shows. And I think the place to be is like their tourism thing. So it's like, be yourself, be inspired, be unbound, be refreshed, be out of step, be retro. The t-shirt design is okay. And this like poster thing, yeah, that font is super hard to read on that kind of very colorful photo. And I've now introduced another font that wasn't there before, so that's cool. Overall, I just think that this brand could have been just pushed a little bit further, but I think it had a good start, and I can see where my skills are starting to improve. I've started to kind of expand my type horizons, but just a little bit. And I'm starting to think more about the relationship between type and image. So those are all really good things, and I continue to improve throughout college and even after college and into the start of my career. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. In the comments, just let me know some like lesson or silly mistake that you made when you were learning design. I would love to reminisce with you guys and kind of connect on our similar growing experiences. So thank you again, and have a great rest of your day.